when I was a kid, I used to say to people like, when people would say, "Oh, my dad can beat up your dad," I'd be like, "No, but really, my dad can beat up your dad." For sure, 100%.
The world remembers Bruce Lee as an untouchable icon. But in 2025, the fight to protect his legacy rests on one woman's shoulders. Long after the cameras stopped rolling and the myths grew louder than the man, his daughter stepped into a role she never asked for but refuses to abandon. She stands between truth and exploitation, philosophy, and Hollywood distortion. This is the story of Bruce Lee's daughter in 2025, the last guardian of a legend. Only a few people know that Bruce Lee's daughter, Shannon's birth came during a pivotal period in her father's life, as Bruce Lee was rapidly rising from martial arts instructor to international film icon. From the very beginning, her life was shaped by movement, cultural exchange, and global attention. She is the younger sibling of Brandon Lee, born in 1965, who would later follow in their father's footsteps as an actor before his tragic death in 1993 at the age of 28. The bond between Shannon and Brandon was deeply rooted in shared experiences of fame, loss, and legacy, and his passing would later become one of the most defining emotional moments of her life. According to the official Bruce Lee website, Shannon spent her early childhood moving between Los Angeles and Hong Kong, reflecting her father's international career and cultural influence. These formative years exposed her to both American and Chinese traditions, allowing her to absorb a bicultural identity from a very young age. However, this period was also marked by instability. When Bruce Lee suddenly passed away in 1973, Shannon was just 4 years old, and the loss profoundly altered the trajectory of her upbringing. In 1974, Linda Lee Cadwell brought Shannon back to Los Angeles, where the family put down more permanent roots. Growing up without her father, Shannon was raised largely outside the spotlight, with her mother determined to provide as normal a childhood as possible, despite the enormous shadow of Bruce Lee's legacy. Still, the presence of her father's influence was unavoidable, embedded in family stories, film footage, and the global reverence surrounding his name. In fact, Shannon Lee's martial arts journey was never about simply inheriting a famous name. It was about earning her own understanding of the discipline, philosophy, and physical rigor that defined her father's life. Over the years, she trained seriously in multiple martial arts styles, building a well-rounded foundation that reflected both tradition and modern combat practice. According to Black Belt magazine, Shannon studied Jeet Kune Do, the revolutionary martial art created by Bruce Lee, as well as Taekwondo, expanding her skill set beyond her father's system. Her study of Jeet Kune Do began under Richard Bustillo, one of Bruce Lee's original students and a respected martial artist in his own right. Training with Bustillo gave Shannon a direct connection to her father's teachings, not through legend or second-hand stories, but through authentic lineage. However, it wasn't until the late 1990s that she began to pursue Jeet Kune Do more seriously, approaching it not just as a family legacy, but as a personal discipline that demanded commitment, humility, and hard work. When Shannon began preparing for action film roles, her training intensified. She worked closely with Ted Wong, another trusted student of Bruce Lee, who had been instrumental in preserving Jeet Kune Do after Bruce's death. Under Wong's guidance, Shannon refined her understanding of JKD's core principles: efficiency, adaptability, and personal expression, learning that the art was less about rigid technique and more about honest movement and self-discovery. This philosophy resonated deeply with her as she balanced martial training with acting. Beyond Jeet Kune Do, Shannon also studied Taekwondo with Dung Doalin, developing strong kicking techniques, balance, and flexibility. This training complemented her JKD foundation by emphasizing precision, control, and athletic conditioning. She further broadened her martial education by studying Wushu with Eric Chen, which introduced her to fluid, expressive movement and traditional Chinese martial aesthetics. In addition, Shannon trained in kickboxing under legendary fighter Benny the Jet Urquidez, gaining exposure to full-contact combat, timing, and endurance. This diverse training background helped her move confidently across different fighting styles, while reinforcing her belief that martial arts should evolve with the individual. Shannon attended Tulane in New Orleans from 1987 to 1991, choosing an environment far removed from Hollywood and the martial arts world most people associated with her family. The city's rich cultural atmosphere, steeped in music, performance, and artistic expression, proved to be an ideal setting for her personal and artistic growth. According to the official Bruce Lee website, Shannon earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts, BFA, in vocal performance, committing herself seriously to the study of music and stage performance. Her academic focus required rigorous technical training, including voice development, breath control, musical interpretation, and stage presence. During her time at Tulane, she immersed herself fully in the performing arts, appearing in musicals, operas, and concerts, experiences that helped her build confidence and versatility as a performer. These performances were not merely extracurricular activities, they were an essential part of her artistic education. Through live theater and concert work, Shannon learned discipline, collaboration, and the emotional demands of performing before an audience, skills that would later translate into her work as an actress and producer. College also offered her a sense of independence, allowing her to define herself beyond the legacy of her father while still honoring the creativity that clearly ran in the family. Years later, in 2020, Shannon returned, virtually, to Tulane to reflect on that formative period. She participated in a live chat with Tulane alumni, where she openly discussed her experiences as a student, the challenges of carrying Bruce Lee's legacy, and the winding path of her career. During the conversation, she emphasized how her time at Tulane helped shape her confidence, artistic curiosity, and sense of purpose. Shannon Lee's acting career began in a deeply personal way, rooted in both family history and cinematic legacy. In 1993, she earned her first acting role with a brief cameo in Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, the biographical film that chronicled her father's life and career. While her appearance was small, the moment carried enormous emotional weight, as the film was released the same year her brother Brandon Lee tragically passed away. For Shannon, stepping onto the set was not about seeking fame, but about honoring her family's story during a period of profound loss. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, Shannon continued to explore acting through a series of supporting and minor roles, steadily gaining on-set experience rather than chasing leading parts. She appeared in action-driven projects such as High Voltage and Enter the Eagles, where her martial arts background added authenticity to her performances. Her role in Blade further placed her within the action and genre film world, aligning naturally with her physical training and screen presence. Shannon also experimented with different tones and formats, taking roles in films like She, Me, and Her, which allowed her to move beyond pure action and explore character-driven storytelling. While none of these roles made her a mainstream star, they helped her understand the mechanics of filmmaking, from blocking and choreography to camera work and collaboration with directors and crews. By the mid-2000s, Shannon began to reassess her place in front of the camera. Rather than pursuing acting as a long-term career, she found herself increasingly drawn to behind-the-scenes work, where she could shape stories more holistically. This shift reflected a growing desire to contribute creatively without being confined to a single role or public identity. Her final on-screen appearance came in 2012 with the short film Tekken: Reload, a project that blended action, gaming culture, and martial arts. The role served as a quiet bookend to her acting journey, allowing her to step away from performing on her own terms. Her first major foray into producing came in 2008 with the Chinese television series Li Xiaolong Chuan Qi, translated internationally as The Legend of Bruce Lee. Spanning 50 episodes, the ambitious series traced Bruce Lee's journey from his early years in Hong Kong to his breakthrough in America, dramatizing his struggles, cultural barriers, and eventual rise to global fame. For Shannon, the project was not only a professional milestone, but also a deeply personal one, requiring careful balance between historical accuracy, storytelling, and cultural respect. Following the success of the series, Shannon continued to expand her role as a producer by overseeing 2 television movies focused on her father's legacy, released in 2009 and 2012, respectively. These projects further established her as a guardian of Bruce Lee's image, someone determined to move beyond surface-level myth-making and instead highlight his philosophy, discipline, and lasting cultural impact. Through these productions, Shannon refined her approach to storytelling, learning how to navigate international audiences while preserving the authenticity of her father's vision. A major breakthrough came in 2016, when Shannon announced she would serve as executive producer on Warrior, a martial arts crime drama developed for Cinemax. The series was based on an original concept created by Bruce Lee decades earlier, a fact that only fully came to light when actual written pages of his idea were rediscovered. Set in 1870s San Francisco, Warrior explores the violent power struggles of Chinatown during the Tong Wars, blending historical drama, martial arts, and social commentary. In an interview with Deadline, Shannon reflected on the long journey behind the project, saying, "Technically, if we're really starting from the beginning, the journey began 50 years ago with him. I'd always heard the story that he had created this and pitched it, but I guess I didn't know for sure that the actual pages existed." For her, Warrior represented the fulfillment of an idea her father never lived to see realized. The series premiered in 2019 and quickly gained a devoted fan base. After its initial run on Cinemax, Warrior was later picked up by Max, where its 3rd season premiered in June 2023, solidifying its place as one of the most successful posthumous realizations of Bruce Lee's creative legacy. Through her producing work, Shannon Lee has emerged not just as a caretaker of history, but as a powerful creative force bringing her father's unfinished visions to life. Shannon Lee's personal life has been defined by a careful balance between privacy, family tradition, and honoring a legendary legacy. In 1994, she married Ian Kiesler, choosing a life partner outside the constant glare of Hollywood. Their marriage has largely remained out of the public spotlight, reflecting Shannon's long-standing preference to keep her family life grounded and protected from excessive media attention. Together, Shannon and Ian welcomed their daughter, Ren Lee Kiesler, in 2003. From the beginning, Shannon has been intentional about raising Ren with a strong sense of identity that extends beyond the weight of the Lee name. While proud of her family's history, Shannon has emphasized normalcy, education, and emotional connection over celebrity, a philosophy shaped by her own upbringing after the loss of her father at a young age. As Ren grew older, subtle connections to family tradition naturally emerged. According to Shannon's social media, Ren now attends Tulane University, following in her mother's footsteps more than 3 decades later. The parallel carries symbolic meaning, linking 3 generations through education, independence, and creative curiosity. Much like Shannon's own college years, Ren's time at Tulane represents both continuity and individuality, honoring the past while forging her own future. In 2020, Shannon and Ren appeared together in a heartfelt tribute on Bruce Lee's official YouTube channel, celebrating what would have been his 80-year birthday. The moment offered a rare glimpse into the family's intergenerational bond, highlighting how Bruce Lee's influence continues to resonate not only as a cultural icon, but as a grandfather figure Ren never had the chance to meet. The tribute emphasized remembrance, gratitude, and the enduring values Bruce passed down through philosophy rather than presence. Although Shannon remains protective of her daughter's privacy, she occasionally shares glimpses of Ren on Instagram, often in moments that emphasize family warmth rather than public spectacle. One such moment came on Mother's Day in 2023, when Shannon posted a photo featuring herself, Ren, and her own mother, Linda Lee Cadwell. Accompanying the image, she wrote, "A happy Mama's Day was had by all the Lee ladies." The caption captured 3 generations of women bound by resilience, love, and legacy. Now let's talk about Shannon Lee's misfortune. Reportedly, Her activism around gun safety on film sets is deeply personal, rooted in a tragedy that forever changed her family. In 1993, her older brother Brandon Lee was killed after being accidentally shot with a prop gun while filming The Crow. The incident exposed devastating failures in on-set safety protocols and left Shannon grappling not only with loss, but with the knowledge that the death was preventable. For decades, the tragedy remained a painful reminder of the risks actors and crew members face when real firearms are introduced into controlled environments. In recent years, Shannon has become increasingly vocal about the need for stronger safeguards, particularly as similar incidents continued to occur in the industry. The issue resurfaced with renewed urgency in 2021, when cinematographer Helena Hutchins was killed on the set of Rust after a prop gun held by Alec Baldwin discharged a real lead bullet. The incident sent shockwaves through Hollywood and reopened long-standing debates about firearm use in filmmaking. In response, Shannon publicly called for mandatory gun safety training on film sets, emphasizing that existing measures were insufficient. She described the industry's current approach to firearm safety as frustrating, pointing out that nearly 3 decades after Brandon's death, meaningful systemic change had still not been fully implemented. For Shannon, the repetition of such tragedies underscored a failure to learn from the past and a reluctance to prioritize human life over convenience or tradition. Her advocacy intensified in 2023, after Baldwin was formally charged with involuntary manslaughter in connection with the Rust shooting. That year, Shannon endorsed an editorial calling for a complete ban on guns on film sets, arguing that modern technology makes the use of real firearms unnecessary. She has consistently maintained that visual effects, replicas, and sound design can achieve the same cinematic impact without exposing cast and crew to deadly risk. In addition, Shannon Lee has become the central steward of her father's legacy through her role as CEO of the Bruce Lee Family Company, a position that reflects years of quiet preparation and deep personal commitment. Although the company was officially founded in 2011, Shannon had already been actively managing and protecting Bruce Lee's legacy since around 2000, working behind the scenes to ensure that his name, image, and philosophy were represented with integrity rather than exploitation. Gaining full control of her father's intellectual property marked a turning point, allowing her to guide how Bruce Lee would be introduced to new generations around the world. The Bruce Lee Family Company was passed down to Shannon by her mother, Linda Lee Cadwell, who remains closely involved in its operations. Shannon has emphasized that her mother continues to serve as the company's most trusted advisor, describing her as our #1 consultant who is always on speed dial. This multi-generational collaboration has helped preserve the authenticity of Bruce Lee's voice, blending lived experience with modern business strategy. As CEO, Shannon oversees everything from film and television projects to publishing, licensing, digital media, and educational initiatives. Her leadership philosophy is rooted not in nostalgia, but in relevance. Rather than allowing Bruce Lee to remain frozen in time as a 1970s icon, she has focused on presenting him as a philosopher, cultural thinker, and innovator whose ideas about discipline, adaptability, and self-expression remain deeply applicable today. In her own words, Shannon has explained her motivation clearly. I have dedicated myself to keeping my father's energy alive because his words and the way he lived his life have had a profound effect on me and my personal growth. That sense of purpose extends beyond commerce. In addition to her corporate role, Shannon also serves as president of the Bruce Lee Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering individuals and communities through education, leadership, and philosophical exploration inspired by Bruce Lee's teachings. Under her guidance, the foundation has supported programs worldwide and operates Camp Bruce Lee, a summer program designed for children. The camp focuses on confidence building, mindfulness, physical activity, and emotional resilience, translating Bruce Lee's core principles into tools young people can apply in everyday life. Non-stopping there, Shannon Lee took one of her most personal and impactful steps in preserving her father's legacy through writing, using the written word to reveal Bruce Lee not just as a global icon, but as a deeply thoughtful human being. She authored the book Be Water, My Friend, The Teachings of Bruce Lee, a project that blended memoir, philosophy, and personal reflection. Rather than offering a traditional biography, the book presents Bruce Lee's ideas as a living philosophy, one meant to be practiced, questioned, and adapted to modern life. In the book, Shannon shares previously untold stories from her father's life, many drawn from family memories, personal letters, and private conversations that were never meant for the public eye. These intimate glimpses humanize Bruce Lee, showing him not only as a disciplined martial artist and film star, but as a father, husband, and seeker, constantly refining his understanding of the world. Through her perspective as a daughter, Shannon adds emotional depth to moments that history books often flatten into myth. Central to the book is Bruce Lee's most famous philosophy, Be Water, which Shannon expands upon with clarity and relevance. She explores how her father's teachings on adaptability, self-honesty, and personal growth shaped her own life, particularly in moments of loss, uncertainty, and transformation. By framing his ideas through her lived experience, she invites readers to apply Bruce Lee's wisdom beyond martial arts into relationships, creativity, leadership, and emotional resilience. Shannon's work as a writer also extends into the world of graphic storytelling. In 2016, she co-wrote the comic book Bruce Lee, The Dragon Rises alongside Jeff Kline and Adam Beechin. The comic reimagines Bruce Lee as a heroic figure in a mythic narrative, blending action, fantasy, and philosophy. While fictionalized, the story remains rooted in Bruce Lee's core values, discipline, courage, and the struggle for self-mastery, making it accessible to younger audiences and fans of visual storytelling. What do you think about Bruce Lee's daughter? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.